What's going on, everybody? Sonar here, and you know what? I've said it in several videos so far this year. I'm falling in love with this offshore gig, and you know, Lake Chickamauga has just been on fire and been catching a lot of fish offshore, and it's just been a blast, you know. And I've really learned some new techniques that I'm going to use in tournament situations for a long time to come. And really, you know, what it comes down to when you're offshore fishing is there's a variety of different baits that you can really use to target these fish. Anything from, you know, bottom bouncing techniques or dragging techniques to reaction style techniques, you know, throwing big baits, you know, big spoons, swim baits, and big crank baits. And so I've kind of whittled down my list of rods to 4 different rods that have really become my favorite for fishing offshore situations. And we're going to start off by going to a really good all-around rod right here that is great for fishing, you know, a Texas rig worm, big 10-inch worm, or even on a lead shaker like this. This is what I've been catching a lot of fish on, Chick. It's how I've really started to slow down and catch those fish that weren't willing to bite a reaction bait. And this rod right here, this is a 7.3 medium heavy Sterner HD from Fitzgerald Rods, and this has been a great all-around rod for fishing those bottom bouncing techniques. You know, anything from light Carolina rigs to the lead shaker, of course, Texas rig like I mentioned, and also football jigs. Great rod for all that. And then we kind of move into some bigger baits, you know, and some bigger reaction style baits. And that's when I start going to the 7.6 medium heavy. Okay, this rod right here is great for fishing, you know, flutter spoons, kind of mid to smaller size flutter spoons like you can see here. And also it throws big crankbaits very well. This is a great 8XD rod right here. And I also fish a Carolina rig. This is my favorite Carolina rig rod for bigger Carolina rigs, you know, when you're throwing those big 1-ounce weights, and also just heavier jigs too. This is a great rod for all that, and it's also a really good go-to rod for fishing swim baits, you know, kind of that mid-range size swim baits up to 1 ounce. And so that one's been really important for me. And then we have the real workhorse. This is the big bait rod right here. This is a 7.8 medium heavy Versa series, and this is an excellent rod for fishing any of those really giant ledge baits. You know, you can see here I've got this big old you know, spoon on there. This is a great rod for that, and it's really the only rod in the lineup that I can effectively fish this. It's got plenty of length, it's got enough tip to be able to cast big baits, but it's also got a lot of backbone, so you're not having to worry about getting good hook set in deep water with those big baits. So really good for spoons. It's also my go-to rod for 10XDs, the biggest of the crankbaits that I'm going to be fishing. This is a really good rod for that. Again, it's got enough bend in it so you can cast it far and you can set the hook on it properly, but it's also got a lot of backbone. So that rod right there is for your biggest baits, as you can see. Giant swim baits, don't forget, with that rod. But the 7.8 is what I'm calling my ledge rod nowadays, because that one right there, anytime I'm using big baits, that's a really important one. And then finally, if I'm fishing and the fishing's real tough and I need to kind of downsize and finesse those fish a little bit, I found a rod that really has caught me a lot of fish recently, and it's my favorite ledge fishing rod for finesse tactics, you know, drop shotting, maybe throwing a shaky head, a lot of different tactics that really do mop up those areas that you've been catching a lot of fish, and maybe it's slowed down with the reaction baits. And this right here is the 7.2 medium action Aqua Dream from Fitzgerald Rods. This is a great rod for fishing a drop shot. I like a longer rod, especially when I'm ledge fishing, because I like to have that extra leverage to set the hook in the deeper water and the higher current. So I like to have that 7 foot at least, and this is a 7.2, so it's a perfect length, and it's got a great action to it. I'm able to get good hook sets, and that's a really good rod right there. So that is my lineup, the top 4 for ledge fishing. So as always, match your rod to the technique that you're using, and as you can see, I've got everything that I need in the Fitzgerald lineup. So check them out, fitzgeraldrods.com.